Mr. Content Property Guy, we are continuing with working on self. And today we are talking about a very serious topic which the world now centers around it. And the topic that I'm talking about is money. And many define money in different ways. And the question is, Mr. Content Property Guy, what is money according to your own interpretation or according to your own perception? And to be honest with you, Mr. Content Property Guy, it's an interesting question, and it's a trick question at the same time. Because firstly, let me answer it like this. To say, number one, as an accountant property guy, firstly, personally, I'm someone with that perception of saying a coin has got three sides, not two sides. And I will explain to say why before I define money. Why do I think like that? Because I believe that a coin has got a head and it has got a tail. And the edge side of the coin, according to me, I believe that it is still a side. So hence, I'm coming to say a coin. I'm not someone who will say if I see the other side, yeah. So I'm that kind of person who analyzes things that way. Again, let's go back. Let me go back to answer my definition of money. Before I even go there, it is very important to indicate that over my lifetime, I've learned that, again, I won't say money is a good thing, and again, I won't say money is a bad thing. Because over my experience of life, I've learned that money is only good for the good that it can do. And the other side, I've seen so many people that has got money and they've done bad things out of money. So that's why my perception, I would say money is good for the good that it can do, and money is bad for the bad that it can do. So now straight on to my definition of money. Number one, I will say, according to me, money is the shadow. Meaning money is not the real thing. Money is the shadow of the value behind something. So let me give you, for instance, Mr. Accountant Property Guy, like the value of the money that I have in my life at the moment. Let's say if I've got 1,000 rand right now, that 1,000 rand money, it's a reflection of the wealth, the value that I'm capable of, the value that the world sees in me. So it's a shadow. So in so doing, then the reflection, the measurement of it is through the system. Right now we talk about the bank system in terms of the note. That when you say you're worth 1,000, which you can get right now in the physical cash. So it's a feedback, mirror. It's a mirror of something behind. So that is money. So hence that's why if I want to go deeper with these things, because other people, according to me, which I'm subject to correction, they believe that money is the real thing. They say when they've got money, they have the thing. And that's why sometimes if you understand it that way, it becomes a challenge. Because when you have it, imagine if you have a shadow. Let's give you a scenario of a shadow, a house that sometimes when the sun is scorching, it creates a shadow, which meaning that at that time, if you were to go inside the house, obviously inside the house it will be hot, and it won't be the thing that you need at that time of scorching sun. Obviously you will want to go outside and enjoy the shadow that is coming out of the house. Let's say, with that practical example, let's say if someone was to come at that time of that scorching sun and say, you have got two things here to choose. It's either you choose the shadow which you are enjoying now, or you choose the house. Noting that you've just been in the house, it was hot, it was not reflecting, there was no shadow, so you decided to say, let me go. So if there are two people in that kind of a practical example, if I want to choose, and I'm going to relate it to money, I said money is the shadow. So the one who is going to choose the shadow and the one who's going to choose the house, who has chosen the real thing then? And the answer, I think, is pretty obvious. The one who chose the house. It means that when he or she takes the house, that person, remember, will be taking the house and taking the shadow at the same time, isn't it? I think, of course, if you are listening to this, you will tentatively agree with me. So meaning that my example is to say, if you have got money, based on this example I've just given, it shows that if you put your focus on the money, literally you are missing out, because you are focusing on the behind, you're focusing on not on the real thing, but you are focusing on the shadow of something. And many times, believe in me, if you are to continue with that kind of mistake for a while, that's why sometimes you find those people who don't understand the principle behind money, they still struggle. Some, most of the time, they are forever on the average kind of lifestyle, if not under the poverty lifestyle. Because today I want to share my wisdom, and some of this wisdom that I'm gonna share about money, I've learned from a couple of books. One of the most exciting book that I've read about money is a book called A Happy Pocket Full of Money, and that book is written by David Cameron. What a powerful book, and that book changed my life when coming to the perception of money. And another book that touched more similar principle or aspects about money is the book called As the Man Thinketh, So Is He, and that book is written by James Allen. So those books, they come up with, like I said, I dwell more on the principles more than anything else. Because those books, one of those books, it says money is not something that you can literally go after, or money is not something that you can literally go out there to hunt it. But it says, which I agree with that principle, it says money, it is something that you attract. And that statement resonates well with me. And again, with the very same example that I've just shared, that in a scenario where we have got a house and a shadow, it means that if you have got a house automatically you will have the shadow. So coming back to money, it means that if you were to acquire a certain qualities as an individual, if you were to acquire a certain skills as an individual, automatically those will yield the shadow of money. And I want Mr. Accountant Property Guy to teach ourselves today in this topic, to say, sometimes we've been chasing this thing out of no understanding, but as soon as we understood, we've learned that actually we need to focus on the structure, the core thing that we know ultimately will attract money, that we know ultimately will create the shadow of money. So someone can still be saying, Mr. Accountant Property Guy, or Accountant Property Guy himself is asking himself to say, is there a way that you can still simplify this thing further? And I say, yes, of course, we can still give other practical examples to make sure that at the end of the day, this thing sinks, because Mr. Accountant Property Guy, again, on this principle is very, very important. And even ourselves, we are not yet done learning about this. We'll still continue to learn, because we told ourselves that in this life, we are going to be forever the student of life. We learn each and every single day. And it's amazing on how far we can learn as far as money is concerned. So let's go back to the very same issue of money. I think again, someone can say, whoa, wait a little bit. Let's be practical now. We've been given an example and ask ourselves money. What is money? I think let me, Accountant Property, take us back in those days where we used to have a barter trading. Do you know what was happening then while we were using the system of barter trading versus now, where we are using the system that we are using now is called fiat, where there's just the printing of money, whereas the barter trading was based on the gold. So based on the amount of gold and based on the changing of commodities, people were able to gauge, to say, if I've got a cow which I believe that it's worth more than other commodities. Let's say, for instance, if I've got a cow, I know that I need a sack of meal. People will go and find themselves sitting down to negotiate that, you know, if I give you a cow, somehow if we were to come across, you know, balancing, make sure that this thing, maybe one cow, give for example, to equal to 10 sack of meal. When they do a transaction, it will be done like that. You know, give an example in a situation where, and the central one, where to say something is just like a master key. Remember, a master key is the key that can unlock any other door. So if, let's say, for instance, if I've got a lot of cows and I know that I just want to have something like a master key, something that is neutral, more powerful to have it, it was gold. Let's say, for example, they will say you trade 10 cows for a particular quantity of gold, and with that gold we know that you can do whatever that you want. You transact with anyone, the one who needs a maize meal, the one who needs, you know, anything. So for me, at that time in the past, it used to make sense then. But what happens to now? And for me, that was the real value. Remember, I spoke about that was the real value, because you could literally see a cow and you could literally see a sack of maize meal. But let's come now in how we do it nowadays in the system of fiat, because now they've printed a paper. And for me, a paper is not the tangible thing that we want. Because believe in me, if I was to talk to you, Mr. Accountant Property Guy, that if you think that that paper money is the real thing. We say the whole year, 12 months, we are going to take 10 million. 10 million, we give it to you, we lock you into the room. You get me? 10 million, the whole of it, we lock you into the room. And let's see if that 10 million, a note, bank notes, in stacks, we give it to you 10 million, we lock you into the room and say, if you think it's the real thing, let's see if you'll survive. Will you survive? The answer is no. And then it proves my point when I say, then those bank notes, they are not the real thing. So what is the real thing? The real thing is the key. Like I said, it's the shadow. You must ask yourself, what is behind? And the question now that we must ask ourselves, what is the real thing behind the bank note? So the real thing behind the bank notes, according to me, accountant property guy, it's the value, the value that the people attach behind that is what is the real thing. Because even if you were to compare, we've got different currencies in this world. You've got your US dollars, you've got your euros, you've got your rands, you've got your bullars. Someone once asked me this kind of question to say, which equation, which factors have we applied to say, 1 rand is equals to $17. 1 rand is equals to 22 euros. What is that? And it has been, and believe in me, accountant property guy, is the same thing that even today I'm still struggling to add. And most of the time when I do my research is to find out that it's a perception and it's a politicized, kind of, it's people's beliefs, people's agreement, people's, consensus around that. And should tomorrow when they wake up, they can decide, what, the US dollar is no longer worth that. And we've seen that changing, we've seen the East, the Asian countries, Americans, somehow changing. And as and when they disagree, the value of the very same currency changes like that. I think it's a complex environment altogether. You talk about this economics and politics. So it's something that one day we'll also touch on that aspect again. But at the end of the day, can you see and can we agree that this concept of money is a bit tricky? One can say it's a bit of a gray area. But the lesson that I want us to take to go home with Mr. Accountant Property Guy is that it's a fact that money will attract. It is a fact that money is a shadow of something. So what then can I do to make sure that, because believe in me, I don't care if there is no way in which you'll make it in this life if you are going to neglect the talk of money. If you are going to neglect, because without money, for me, still you cannot make it in this life. I mean, especially in this life nowadays where we are living, you cannot make it. So it is very, very important for one Mr. Accountant Property Guy to know that there are certain things. Money is one of those aspects that you cannot afford to be naive about it. You cannot afford not to be, and it's either you do that, you do it at your own peril, and the consequence and the payment, it will become at a hefty price. So, but I think out of this podcast today, Accountant Property Guy, share the most critical thing that someone, let's say a layman, who is hearing you for the first time, someone who has been struggling about the issue of money, someone who's been below the poverty line, someone who's been living an average lifestyle and wants to make sure that actually they want to have enough money. They don't want to stress more about money. They don't want to, I've seen many marriages breaking because of a serious contestation, serious fight, conflict of money. I've seen churches, it's the money issue is the biggest thing that if you were to work on self, specifically on this aspect, I'm telling you, it might change your life for good. It might change everything. It might be the master key that you've been looking for. So without any waste of time, so all I wanted to say, the key lesson that we're taking out of the podcast of today is that let's know that dealing with the root cause of whatever problems that has to come with money, we don't directly deal with the money itself, but we deal with ourselves. So we ought to teach ourselves. Somebody once told me a statement of saying, sometimes don't worry more about how much you are earning on a daily basis, how much you are earning come end of every month, but worry more about the environment. Ask yourself, because remember, each and every single day, 24 hours, it is being given to you. And out of 24 hours, today we're talking about money, worry much more about the kind of the person that you are becoming. Ask yourself, say, am I, and you could mold yourself towards that kind of person that will be attractive to money. And you know that people, number one of the things to ask yourselves to check if you are aligning towards that kind of a person who will attract money is to say, number one, you ask yourself, are you every day, are you in an environment that makes you feel excited, that makes you feel like fulfilled in terms of the kind of the services that you are delivering, the kind of the services that you are giving to people? And believe in me, many times if you were to tick this box, yes, it's one of the signs that indicate that you are on the right track. But the opposite, if you find yourself that every day when you wake up, you're waking up and you are in an environment just to make sure that you want to clock a time from 8 to 5 and say you've ticked and you are going to get paid, it touches nothing, no fulfillment out of you, no satisfaction out of you. Believe in me that it's a sign that completely you are missing it out. Number two, I would say every day, whether you are on the workplace or whether you are chasing your passion, ask yourself the second question of, if whatever that you are doing, even if you were not to be paid, will you still feel something? And if the answer is no, it's a sign that you are not in the right place and you are still far away from attracting the money. But if the answer is yes, because I know someone once said that, I don't know if I will remember, I'm not gonna paraphrase it exactly as it is, but the statement was going like this, that in fact, if we were to realize that the world is waiting to pay whatsoever amount of the kind, especially if whatever amount, I'm saying whatever amount, for the solution or for simplifying things. Believe in me, someone once given an example to say, let's say for example, when you go to school from grade R, primary school, secondary school until to varsity, sometimes when you do those years, it seems like you are doing nothing or wasting time, but immediately after you've done those grades, there will be someone who's willing to pay for you for that. Have you even to ask yourself, what is that? It's because of people tend to believe that you will be coming up with a solution. So always, item number 3, ask yourself if indeed whatever that you're doing, is it gonna simplify things for someone, is going to bring solution for someone? And if somehow you find an answer to be yes, just know that those is also one of the building block of attracting money. So number 4 again is I've also learned from this book the title of the book is The Richest Man in Babylon. Remember, sometimes there ought to be a relationship, because money can't just come to you and even if you have got friends will stay in your life provided that you are sensitive, provided that you resonate well with them, provided that you understand them. So you also ought to make an effort to say, the question is like, every money that comes to you, what kind of a relationship are you going to have to? You know, that book called The Richest Man in Babylon, I learned this other principle to say, it is good if I've got a 2 rand, I need to learn that, yes, I need to enjoy 1 rand, but the other rand, I need to make sure that it becomes my friend, and a friend who will, in a situation where I need help, the same friend will come and help me. So you do that relationship with the money itself. It also shows that you'll attract even more, because the money, every time when it comes to you, it will also know and understand that I'm going to a friend, not an enemy. So it's also one of the critical aspects that one has to learn and ask if that box is ticked or not. I know I can mention a lot, but lastly that I want to talk about is that money, again, according to me, is my perception, of course. I feel like money is a spiritual matter as well. And why am I saying that? Is because it's so amazing that sometimes you may think like you know someone, and you think that someone is humbled, you feel like someone is down to earth, you feel like someone is respectable, but immediately when money comes to that person, it changes everything. Because sometimes, that's what I'm saying, money, it's a spiritual matter, because there are other people that no matter what, actually they are good if they don't have money, but for them having money, life can be catastrophic, life can be something that is undesirable, that even the people will even wish that this person shouldn't have money. So what am I saying about this? So all I'm saying is that I also believe that money sometimes according to our spirituality level, we like I said, we attract. There are certain things that you'll find that spiritually so, until you deal with certain matters of the spirit, money will never come to you. And that is a personal thing, because I may not have answer on that one, but I strongly believe that, which is the one of the critical and the most important one, that spiritually you ought to find to work on yourself in such a way that you deal with that aspect. I feel like there is a big curtain, a big aspects that money has on that aspect. And all I can say on that one is to say, and you can see most of the time there are people that ask yourself alone as a person. I think Mr. Cameron Gikandi that most of the time, if you have got money, how do you feel? Most of the time, if you don't have it, how do you feel? And most of the time, should a lot of money come to you, does it change you? And if it changes you, does it change you in a good way, or does it change you in a bad way? And believe in me, all these questions that I'm asking now, most of us, you find that if I've got friends, if I've got money, I feel like my friends needs to start worshiping me. I still feel like now I'm better than those ones. Some people must start, polishing my shoes. I'm talking about such things. If you are a married man, you feel like because now I've got money, maybe if you have got a spouse, the spouse now, we start having a lot of activities, lifestyle changes. I'm talking about such things. They look small, but those are the spiritual matters. So I think I'm going to conclude on this one, that I hope today, let's understand that money is not the real thing that we need to chase, or something that we need to go after, but we ought to work on the factors that I've just shared, that I've just indicated. And as soon as you work them, you will see that me elaborating further. Should you want anything, I think as an accounting property guy, I'm approachable. You can tell us, us on social media. We are willing to engage at a personal level, especially on this aspect about money, because we have seen it. And at our level right now, believe in me, as an accounting property guy, with money we relate so well. With money I don't remember when was my last time, and I'm just talking about pure principle, thinking about or stressing about having to pour fuel and whatsoever. I think after we've dealt with the real thing, we know the mathematics, we know the equation of attracting money. So we resonate well, and we are willing to make sure that we help, we deal with these things. And with that being said, I think I'm out for today. Cheers. We are going to work on self. And money is a small thing, but we need it. And then let's conquer it. I'm out.